Spec getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. This is round number 8 of this season, coming to you today from Circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. My name is Maunz. Alongside me in the broadcast booth is Charles Boshell with Guido Marzucchi, working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler. Well, Charles, this is the first time in quite some time that I think the Weekend Warriors have come here. Maybe the first time in the entire time that I've covered these races, for that matter. Circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya does not get a lot of love in iRacing, and on the contrary, does not get a lot of love, just period. It's going to be replaced by the brand new Madrid Street Circuit as a host of the Spanish Grand Prix later on this year in F1, which I can't necessarily say I'm more than too much. I've never really gone along with this track. I don't know what the deal is. It's like my dad and salmon. There's just something that doesn't mesh too well there, and things usually end explosively.
Yeah, understand. Yeah, you know, this is it's a very long used track, and we used to run, in the iRacing service, there were big endurance events here, yearly, seems like, and it's just kind of fallen off with the addition of new tracks. You've got a lot more options, And this one just doesn't. I think, what a lot of it is, I think, is because you get out here of this track. It's a fairly technical track. It flows really well. There's a lot of room for passing, but it's generally the track temps are just almost unbearable, and the cars are just very difficult to control here. Generally speaking, it's not always the case, but generally speaking, that seems to be what happens here more often than not. So, and of course, there's a little thing at the end there that we've changed for today. We're using the historic layout instead of the I guess the Grand Prix layout, which has got that nasty little chicane at the end before you get back to the final corner and back onto the front straight. So I have to worry about that today. So it's going to make it for a little bit easier conditions for these drivers.
Yeah, and I think I've said this on a broadcast before, but that final chicane, I'm so happy that we aren't running it, because trying to go through that chicane is just absolute torture. We're going to take a look at the championship points before we get too lost up into talking about this racetrack and what sort of action we're going to expect here today, because even though this track doesn't get a lot of love, we're expecting a really good race, as always, here in the Spec Racer Fords. Let's start off in the points by taking a look at Spec 1, where Ian Joyner is atop of the poll right now, 100 points clear of your reigning champion Kane Halliburton in P2. This has just been a fantastic season from Joyner, and as we enter the final stanza of the championship, he looks to round it off on the best note imaginable. Jason Green, it's a little bit farther back of Halliburton in P3. That could be a fight to keep our eyes on as we get into the final few weeks, and that's a further 50 points separating Alexander Gorson in 4th and Nathaniel Schramm slotted in P5. We're probably going to see the Schrammer show up in the YouTube chat lickety split, and that is your top 5 in Spec 1. We'll take a look now at the Spec 2 category, where Scott Russell is currently your championship points leader at 458 points. Richard Harwood a little bit farther back in P2, only 57 points is the gap, which compared to Spec 1, that is basically minuscule. Matt Thompson is slotted in 3rd, a little bit farther back from there, with Paul Jackson and Steve Saunders completing your top 5 in the Spec 2 category. And last but certainly not least, we'll take a look at Masters, where Rich Meesters is actually tied with Brad Cathcart. Meesters has really come to form as of recent here in this season, getting a couple of wins in the class. He's been doing very well in the official tally as well. A reminder to those tuning into the series for the very first time, the series does not award points based off class position. They are awarded off of overall finishing position. So P2 means exactly the same to a Spec 1, Spec 2, or Masters driver. Meesters has really brought the thunder, and look at Jörg Monty. He's never a driver that we can discount in these races, looking to redeem himself after ending the Formula V race just about 24 hours ago here on SMB on his lid. Chris Thorpe, Adam Bradshaw complete your top 5 in the Masters category. So that's how it looks in your championship points standings as we head off into this 8th round of the championship, expecting the thunder. This is a tough racetrack, though, Charles, and pass it off to you for, surprisingly enough, not the longest track guide we've done this season.
Yeah, really not. We're going to head down the front straight here. Good draft from the cars in front. You're going to pick up a lot of time behind another car. Make the braking zone down into turn 1. A little tough. You got to have a good line through there, as that inside curb is going to cause problems. Quick switch back through turn 2. We're going to take the long looping carousel-like corner, which is turn 3, gaining a little bit of elevation as we go, and we're still getting some good draft off those cars in front. First good opportunity for a lunge to the inside here in turn 4, as they still continue a little bit of a climb here. They're going to ascent to the top of the little crest here as we come out of turn 4, and then we're going to make a quick run back through, which is turn 5, and then down the hill we come, and then we're going to get to some tricky track here as we get out of turn 5 and then head down through turn 6 and then into a very, very difficult turn 7. And the exit's going to be very tricky here, as you're going to be as much corner as you can take, and just running that curve on the outside through turn 8 around through turn 9. A very, very difficult right-hander, carrying a lot more speed than you think as you come down the run. One more good lunge to the braking zone here, which is turn 10, and another one of those carousel-like corners as we work our way around to the left-hand side through turn 10, and then we're going to go back around to the right-hand side for turn 11, uphill just a little bit. Not a lot of elevation change here, but it's one of those corners you just got to get your speed right As we get to the top of that little crest, we're going to go through turn 12, penultimate corner, and then watch your curbing here. As you see, take as much outside as you can to get an entry into that final corner and the run down to the start-finish line. And that is your lap of Barcelona.
Yeah, and very fascinating to see what Dirk was doing with the curbs heading out of turn number 12. Those can really pack a punch, but if you want to pack a punch as well, you can by getting the other sponsor of today's broadcast, of course, Dirk Braun and Dirky's Dickles. Dirky's Dickles knows that every lap is hot and that consistency matters. No limp competition here, just serious crunch, undeniable girth, and performance that fills each jar. Whether you want mild, hot, or what the hell do I think I can handle that, they bring the heat and performance you can feel. Dirky's Dickles puts the tickle in your pickle. That networks are tuning into the show. That's the cue that you should probably not even touch me with the 10-foot pole. But we would like to thank Dirk as always for sponsoring these broadcasts and making them possible. The ghost pepper pickles would still probably I think it would probably put hairs on my eyeballs if I'm honest. But this is coming from the same person that got his tongue stuck to an ice pack after biting into a jalapeno as a kid.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on the Carolina Reaper pickles as well. It's just I like having taste buds, and that's just too much for me. I do like spicy food, but there is a limit to my madness. But a good deal, I'll take that all day long. But we talked about the championship points battle. A couple of names that weren't on that S1 championship list that are in the field today and on the grid. Some returning veterans, Maurizio Naselli and the legendary Marco Panero, both sitting in the top 10 here during qualifying. That's going to add a lot more of a challenge to those cars, those drivers up at the top of that S1 list, because those guys are not any joke when it comes to the Spec Racer Ford. They know how to wheel this car around the track, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with here as Dirk Braun jumps up. And we read his ad and he gets pole position, so that might be we have to keep doing that as he moves up to the top of the board there. But yeah, that's another couple of drivers who are going to challenge for a victory today, and that's just going to put that much more pressure on the rest of the drivers that are in that championship battle.
Yeah, this is going to be an unknown quantity for these drivers just because of how shuffled up the field is. You mentioned it before we went on the air, Charles, and this is something that we're seeing get put on full display here in this qualifying session. Outside of Dirk Braun's amazing pole time, the field is packed in like sardines at the moment. Everybody oh so close. The top 30 with Andrew Love qualified in 30th at the moment, covered by 2.285 seconds. This is a insanely competitive field that we've got out there on the racetrack. I know Mr. Wilkie was feeling good about his chances heading off into this race. It shows you how competitive the field is. He's qualified down in 29th at the moment. This is one of the closest grids that I think I've ever seen outside of oval broadcasts, but the NASCAR stuff doesn't count here.
Yeah, it's normally when you see 15 cars or so within a second of pole time, we're talking about tracks like Long Beach, where there's not a lot of a lap to go. New Hampshire road course comes to mind, where the cars are just just literally packed together. So yeah, to see, and it goes back to a lot of these drivers have been in iRacing for quite a long time, especially our Masters drivers. They've probably put hundreds, if not thousands of laps at this track in various machines. So it's a known quantity when you come back to Barcelona that they're going to be able to just get right into the fast times with the car. So yeah, it's just going to be interesting to watch. And that draft, once again, there's a couple of good long drafting areas that are going to keep these cars bunched together. So it's going to take a really good drive today to separate yourself from the rest of the field, or a really big wreck. So that's what we've got looking out for today.
Yeah, whenever
Pinero,
you,
P2.
yeah, great lap time for Marco Pinero, jumping up to the top right as the checkered flag falls out in this session. Was just going to talk about the very long run downtown into turn number 1 of this lap as well. I believe it is still the longest on the F1 calendar. You have such a long run, a long amount of time in these Spec Racer Fords. A rolling start here, so that's going to make it even more crazy. So look at lap 1. If you can survive there, you're probably going to be golden. We always have to talk about the matter of survival on these very draft-heavy tracks, but I think we'll see that get put on full display in this upcoming race. I don't even think we have to talk about it too much before we get done with qualifying. Speaking of, Jason Dunnington comes across the line. Not seeing an improvement from him. He'll be slotted down in 29th at best. Sergio Dorelli looking to set a good time as Marcus Burkett looking to set a time. He's not going to be able to do it. He pulls into the pits, so he will start right at the tail end of the field. Here's Dorelli in the number 86 car heading his way across the line. Will he jump up any higher than P12? I don't believe he will. So Sergio Dorelli remains in 12th. Now we look at Ian Joyner. He's got himself in a nice little conga line at the moment. Has Jason Green, JG2, punching that hole in the air right in front of him. Green in Sector 1, Green in Sector 2. You got a green car right in front of him, a green driver right in front of him too. And let's see how this is going to fly as he heads his way around the final turn onto that start-finish line. Will it be a pole time from our pole man? No, it will not. P2 for your championship leader. That is, not too surprising, but it's still pretty all right.
Yeah, it's a good lap. Obviously, P2 is a good starting spot. But hey, congrats to Dirk Braun coming out getting pole position today in a very stacked field. Didn't he mention Sergio Dorelli? But Sergio's been around quite a bit too, and he's pretty quick in these SRFs.
Yes, so Dorelli, a name that we have seen many moons at this point, putting in a good qualifying performance there. Nice seeing some returning names return here to the Weekend Warriors world. That's one of the best things that this community has, the staying power. A lot of the people that you see out there on the racetrack week in and week out have been around here for many moons. I know a couple of seasons ago, Felix Samoas, who we haven't seen a decent amount of thus far this season, but he's the reigning Formula V champion, 2-time reigning Formula V champion for that matter. He's been around the block before. Last season, in fact, here on the Spec Racer Fords, we celebrated 10 years of Weekend Warriors action. Crazy. So this community's been around for a long time, and a lot of these drivers have been around for a long time too. Both some returning names and some drivers looking to cap off the season on the best note as we get into the final group of races. This is maybe going to be one of the more frenetic races that we've had from the entirety of the season, and to get it all up and rolling, let's take a look at the starting grid here. We got a short pace lap, so we're gonna have to burn through this. Dirk Braun gonna start from the pole. Ian Joyner set to join him on the front row. Marco Pinero will start in 4th next to Nathaniel Schramm in 4th. I said Pinero was in 4th, he's in 3rd. Jason Green will start in P5 alongside Maurizio Nazelli in 6th. Barrett Brummett is in P7. Richard Harwood, your Spec 2 pole sitter, will start this race in 8th. Aleix Pleva will start in 9th. Kane Halliburton rounds at your top 10 with Steve Saunders behind. Alongside him will be Sergio Dorelli completing row number 6. It's Antonio Reese starting this race in 13th. Hugh Simpkins in 14th place. Kevin Adrian in 15th. Jörg Monty in P16. Tom Bradwell in 17th. Scott Russell in 18th. Matt Thompson in P19. Chris Murakami rounds at your top 20 with Christoph van Langendorf starting this race in 21st place. Dan Witzak in 22nd place. Chris Thorpe will start this race in 23rd. Next to him will be Jeffrey Adkins. P25 will be Paul Jackson. P26 will be Kurt Nunez. Jim Brewster in 27th. Brad Cathcart in 28th. Jason Dunnington in 29th. Joshua Wilkie runs at your top 30, and breathe with Andrew Love, Phil Berry, and Marcus Burkett completing your 33-car starting grid here for round number 8 of the season. I want to do that because I felt a little bit bad giving you the whole lap guide there, Charles.
No worries at all. It's fine. So yeah, getting ready here. Did a great job. Got us finished up before they even got rolling off the grid there. So getting ready to settle in here for our 40-minute race. Obviously, pit stop mandatory during the race today. So same format as usual. Obviously, lap 1 going to be very tricky. With the cold tires, cold brakes as we get things rolling here. Going to be very tight, probably down into 1. 2 wides going to be pushing our luck. 3 and 4, which is how they may spread out as we get headed down the front straight. They're going to have to get that sorted before they get into the corner here. So looking forward to a really interesting race. As you said, really the lap times are very, very close together. So this is going to be one of those races where we're going to see lots of side-by-side action. And looking forward to seeing who can get just that little bit, that nose out and clear air. And that might be the key to it, is if you can get a good, clean start here with everybody battling behind.
Yeah, so that run down to turn number 1 is going to be insane. The run heading through turn number 3 is basically going to be rush hour traffic. I can't even imagine what the back straightaway is going to look at halfway through this lap. This is going to be a wild one, though. I think all of you tuning into this broadcast here on SMB have tuned in at the right time. We're about to get a start here. The pace car is down pit lane. The field now in the hands of a very interesting front row. Dirk Braun proving that the Dirkies Dickles have the power, with Ian Jr., a championship points leader, alongside the green flag flies. The drivers are on their way, and we're racing here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. A good start there from Marco Pinero. He's going to be holding on to the inside line, but look at an angry pack of Spec Racer Fords heading their way into one through the braking zone right now. Dirk Braun going to do everything that he needed to do to hold on to that top spot. Pinero going to do everything that he needed to do to jump his way up into third. In Joyner, your championship points leader, able to risk it for the biscuit a little bit here, considering his massive gap, but he's not going to do it. He's going to save that thunder for the end. Up at the front, though, it is still Dirk Braun over Pinero, over Joyner. Everybody else keeping it clean and green as they head their way into turn number 4 for the very first time.
Yeah, good start by... Oh, and now as soon as we say it, there's a little spin there. That's Girelli, and couldn't see that was one of the Almeida cars, and there more traffic there. It's Josh Wilkie. I see Chris Thorpe, Jim Brewster, Pop-Tarts flying everywhere there in the back of the field. As we have a wreck down, and you said it, down into turn 3 and 4, and that was where the first real trouble started.
And if anyone would like my job here in slow motion broadcasting, why not write to us at slowmotionbroadcasting@gmail.com. But it was going good until it wasn't. That was the textbook commentator jinx, dropping down like a falling anvil off into turn number 4. That may have been one of my finest, I'll be completely honest. Looking at the front of the field, it's still tame. I shouldn't have even said anything. But your top 2, still running nose to tail. May see some side-by-side battling go on soon. In the meantime, though, we jump to the midfield and see some battles going on out there on the circle. We follow the number 49 of Christoph van Langendonk battling with Matt Thompson. That is the battle right now for the final 2 spots inside of the top 20 because of all the chaos, shenanigans, and goofy goobery going on throughout the field. We've had some drivers side their way through the running order already, hearing the scraping as the field heads their way off through the final sector. But Dirk Braun getting off to a dream start, but not being able to shake off the challenge from anybody else. Can't necessarily say I'm surprised, though. You've got to crank on the Cuisinarts to be able to break out of draft range, and Pinero going to be all over him. Look at Schramm and Halliburton now trying to get a move done as well.
Yeah, SRAM with a big move down to the inside to pick up P2 there and get clear, as we see just some cars there with damage. I think that's Naselli with the front end damage. Just a little update there. Halliburton's already up 5 positions, up to P5. And our big loser so far is actually Barrett Brummett was involved in there somehow. He's down 23 positions. He's running down in P30. He's still at the back of the field, so he's got a chance to make up some time, but it's going to be a tough road to hoe there as he's working his way back up.
You know, we saw heading down to turn number 1, Nazelli running into some difficulties. Already a bit of front-end damage on the number 44 car. That may hurt him come time for the rest of this race. He's currently tucked in the draft of Jason Green. Green currently running in P6 as 2 cars behind them. It is a bare-knuckle fistfight between your Spec 2 leader of Richard Harwood and Aleix Pleva trying to jump his way up into the top 8. These drivers do have to get a bit of a move on, though, as you look at the likes of Antonio Reese, Kevin Adrian, Hugh Simpkins, Yerk Monty, everybody right behind them. This is getting a bit froggy as we see Simpkins trying to get a move done heading into turn number 10. It's Nathaniel Schramm, though, who's the hard charger at the start of this lap, was able to get, I'm not sure if that was a 2-for-1 deal, a 3-for-1 deal, or a 4-for-1 deal. Either way, Nathaniel Schramm clipping quite the big coupon as he headed his way down the start-finish stretch.
Yeah, absolutely did, and luckily was able to cash that and get it redeemed. Definitely, as you're looking there with the cars coming into the final corner, there's definitely a two schools of thought there. There are some that are riding that curb to get that extra meter or so of opening for the final corner, and then there's others that are just saying, "No, I don't want any part of that. So we're going to get a replay here," and this is the 49 car, along with there's Wilkie, that purple and yellow car, can't 757 maybe, yeah, Jeffrey Adkins.
I believe that's Adkins.
Yeah, so contact there, and that was kind of part of the big mess there coming through the corner. And you see Atkins, not a lot of damage on the car, so he's going to be able to get rejoined. He's only a few seconds off the back, so he might be able to get back up there. But it's going to be a little more difficult now as the cars are starting to spread out.
And Jim Brewster shedding the front clip of his race car like a snake would shed its skin, and there was the contact that really started it all. The 39 being punted around into a spin. That's Barrett Brumman, who was sent around by Sergio Dorelli. Contact into 4. I was saying that turn 3 was maybe going to be a source of contention. I still get Roman Grosjean related flashbacks from 2018. But turn 4 could be a bit of a tough spot as well. That's Steve Saunders off the track. That's through the odd fling of 7 and 8. Thankfully for him, he rejoins the track without any further incident. For some reason, iRacing marks off that section of the racetrack as being called TV3. I'm not sure if that's the actual name of that section of the track. I will have to confirm, because that is... it sounds like some sort of VIN number.
Yeah, it kind of does. As we're kind of watching the cars coming around the final, this is coming into, that's coming into 12 there, as they're coming around, and you see the cars taking it to the inside of the curb. I think most people are deciding now that's probably, you're not gaining anything by riding that curb. And I will say this, is there was an update to this track, I don't know, 3 or 4 seasons ago, but there was a glitch on that curb, and I saw several GT4s get sent into orbit by doing nothing except trying to ride the outside of that curb with their car. It was just absolutely amazing that it was just one little spot there on the track, and the next thing you know, everybody that hits it is just absolutely destroyed. So glad that they've got that taken care of, and people can't go out there if they want to, but that curb, as well as the one coming out of 7 through 8, is very dangerous, and you almost have to use it as part of the track, but it's very difficult to keep that right lap after lap.
Just the image in my head of a GT4 car striking the moon, that's a very potent image in my head. Something's going on with Jason Dunnington in the 088 car. He's dropped down like an anvil pushed out of a helicopter. Let's take a look at this. Heading into turn number 4. Was there some sort of contact? Was it just a spin for him? Already a wiggle off into the turn, catching it, and into the gravel he's going to go. The problem is with these Spec Racer Fords, they may not have a lot of power, but they're also light as a feather. So whenever they do end up in the gravel trap, that's basically going to have the same effectiveness at stopping a car that a brick wall would.
Yeah, it is. The gravel trap does quite well with these very lightweight cars. As we're on board here with Ian Joyner, running P4, you see a nice big pack there. You still got the top 13 cars basically nose to tail, a couple of half-second gaps, but for the most part, they're just kind of running in line. I think we're in this point as we're going to get a replay here, and this is the Matt Thompson car. Coming down into turn 5? No, it was turn 7, and running it wide, just losing the rear, had to catch it and use the gravel to his benefit there to get slowed down so he didn't hit the wall. That's kind of what those are there for. As we're watching once again, as I was saying, top 13 now within a second of each other. I think we're in this portion of the race where we're in that midpoint where it's basically a fuel mileage race at this point. They're trying to save as much fuel as they can, keeping the cars in line and trying to draft off the car in front, not really pushing for positions at this point. We're going to try and get through the pit cycle, and then we'll do some racing with the last 10 minutes or so left.
Yeah, and when the racing starts to intensify, I'm not sure if my vocal cords will be able to take it. I've actually done a bit of research to the comment that I made a bit earlier on, talking about turn number 7 and 8 being called TV3. I've always seen one other name for that turn, that being Worth, but the the Wikipedia page for this racetrack calls it TV3. So I guess that's how iRacing gets their information. And if I question iRacing's information and it calls on too many things too much, well, my iRacing's probably not going to work. I won't be able to produce for the next 7 weeks.
To me, that sounds like a sponsorship for a TV channel. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. See, we have our own, it's CBS 3 here in the city of Philadelphia, which, funnily enough, my best friend actually works in the same building of CBS's CBS 3's headquarters down there. CBS 3 is the TV station here in the city of Philadelphia. Not the best, not the most reliable, not the most finely polished, but the TV station for sure. They also have like 5 affiliates here for some reason, which is kind of odd. They have that. They also air on Philly 50. For somebody who does broadcasting for a living, you'd think I would know about this crap, but I really don't. Andrew Love, we saw him running a P22. He's actually up 9 spots thus far in this race. Second, tied actually with the Brad Cathcart in P19 as the hard charger thus far in this race. If we go into the drivers who have lost out on the most amount of positions, well, we will see that Falling Anvils really do not know any bounds. But we still have a long time left to go in this race. Lots of craziness already in our rearview mirror, and we are just barely a quarter of the way through this race.
Yeah, as we see, that's Brad Cathcart just dropping a couple positions. Got to slow down there, and he's got to got that cleared. But you could tell he was kind of offline and just getting past. We got Kurt Nunez as well with a slowdown. So the slowdowns here are prevalent. There are several places here that you can run wide, and it's going to cost you a little bit of time. So this is one of those tracks that you want to be pretty respectful of track limits because you don't want the slowdowns, and you definitely don't want to drive through because this pit lane is very long. Another slowdown by Jason Green.
Oh, yeah, slow down for JG2. That's going to cause him to drop down a little bit. I wonder if that may break up that fight just a little bit. Yeah, he's going to pull out of harm's way, hang down the back straightaway. This will probably work out the best for him. He's going to slip in tow right behind you, Simpkins, and right in front of Kane Halliburton. Halliburton has been a pretty interesting season, I think it is fair to say, for your reigning champion. After winning last season's title in fairly comfortable fashion, I think it's fair to say. I wouldn't say it's been a bad season at all. He's been contending for race wins, has got a couple of wins. It's just been Ian Joyner either being quick and just like disgustingly consistent.
Yeah. Nate Schramm as well has had a really good season. Has been up there contending just almost seems like every week. So as we're on board here, taking a look at Dan Witzak, he's got Josh Wilkie in tow just behind Steve Saunders. Another one of these is the hard charger is Josh Wilkie. Oh, come on. I can't even, I hesitate to even say that on the air. It's going to jinx him. As we're watching now, Jason Green has gone back into P10. So he's lost a couple positions from the slowdown, but he's still in that group as we're going to get, I think this is Chris Thorpe coming down. This was like coming down into turn 10 and just runs deep and just couldn't get the car stopped. Saw the lockup and takes it through the gravel. Nice, easy way to reset yourself there. Nice rejoin back onto the track. And it's lost a little bit of time, but no positions as he's kind of running by himself for the time being. As we get a battle here, Andrew Love along with Josh Wilkie. Andrew trying to make that move around to get up a position, and Josh fighting from the inside. No such luck yet from Andrew. And Josh, I believe, is going to hang on to it just a little bit there. He's going to keep it to the inside. It was very close there and finally gets it cleared.
As much as this may be an interesting battle to talk about off the back of some pretty bad commentators' jinxes thus far this season, there's one thing that I like more than fantastic battling and commentating over it, and that is job security. Nathaniel Schramm holding on to the top spot right now with a pretty hungry pack right in tow. There's only one minor break in it all, and it's a gap between your top two in Spec 2 of Richard Harwood and Eust Simpkins. They're in P7 and 8 at the moment with a second separating those two racers. teetering around that. I always want to give some love to Richard Harwood's race car, the Leighton House paint scheme. Leighton House is actually the team where now Aston Martin team principal Adrian Newey got his start designing Formula One cars. And if there's anything that all of you tuning into these shows probably know about me, is that I am a sucker for some good racing history and some good stories of the sort. But I think it may be a hard challenge for Richard Harwood just because he's got the still wounded race car of Maurizio Nazelli right in front. Now, with how strong the draft is here, I am frankly gobsmacked that Nazelli hasn't dropped down like anywhere at all. He's still running in P6, despite the fact the front end of that race car looked like it just got pulled out of a rage room.
Yeah, it's, I think that the draft is probably helping him. He can keep his nose tucked behind another car and kind of hide that as we see Jorg Monty running wide coming out of the final corner, loses a position there, and is able to get it back. Andrew Love now with a slowdown. So the off tracks are starting to catch up with some folks here as he's going to take this into the final corner. He's going to run wide here. Yes, he is off into the gravel. He's going to lose the position he was fighting for, going to lose another one, and finally get the car rejoined and then serve that slowdown. So then we've got, I think that's Nunez going by. So Love moving down several positions down to P25. So he's got a little bit of work ahead of him to get back up to where he was battling with the likes of Wilkie and Thompson and Paul Jackson, which I think was the car that passed him in that replay. So back to the front here with Dirk Braun still running in P2, right behind Nate Schramm. Still got that nice, 9-10 car group at the front. Actually, we'll make it 11 now with Kane Halliburton in the 11th position. But you could do a lot, going back to that. You can do a lot to hide your deficiencies there, as we've got, I believe that is Naselli coming in for a pit stop.
Yeah, so right as we were talking about Nazelli having the damage and somehow getting away with it, he's going to throw a reverse strategy call here. Now, we have seen some rather interesting strategic decisions made thus far this season at all manner of races. Thinking back to the last round of the championship, we had pretty much nobody united in when to come down pit lane and what to do in the pit stall. So fascinating to see this call from Nazelli. He's not alone, however, far from it. You've got Matt Thompson coming into the pits as well. I think I saw Phil Berry come down pit lane. Here's a replay of Josh Wilkie. I did not mention his name up until this point and the starting grid, so I cannot take credit for this. Nearly takes out the DRS barrier and probably picks up a slowdown in the process. Yep. Going off the track through the gravel and picking up a slowdown as well. That's not even like rubbing salt into the wounds. That's like rubbing battery acid into the wounds.
Yeah, it really is. As you're already, you could just see the car pushing wide coming out of the corner, just wanted to understeer and took him into the gravel. And then you got to slow down a little more as we see, Kevin Adrian with a very late, I won't say, I couldn't tell if it was maybe Adrian missing his breaking point or maybe Monty braking a little earlier than what he normally would. But either way, there was a cross up there. Adrian did a good job just to miss Monty and get the car recovered over in the gravel to get going again. And this kind of feels like the undercut from Naselli is not a bad strategy call. I figure you can get a good drafting. You've got a nice open track. You shouldn't get held up too many places from slower cars a little further down in the order. So this might be a really, really nice strategy call by Naselli.
And a good benefit as well, the front end no longer looks like it was attacked by a gang of cheese graters. So that's a plus for him. It's going to help him out in a lot of different factors. The grip on that car was probably affected by that as well. Disturbed air can help you badly, hurt you badly, I should say. There's the correct word, English. It'll hurt you badly, hang down the start-finish straightaway and all the straightaways of a lap. It can hurt you hang through the turns as well. These cars may not generate a lot in terms of downforce, but any sort of disturbance of the air like that, it can mess with the suspension as well, because the fender was basically right on the wheel. But either way, that's not a war that he's going to have anymore. He's down in 24th, now got to jump his way up into 23rd with Kevin Adrian coming down pit lane himself. So that's going to be a swap-a-roo. Jim Brewster also going to come into the pits too. Whenever we have these draft-heavy races, Charles, and here in the Spec Racer Fords. It's the only time we really get to see it, because over in the Vs, although those cars are draft monsters, you don't have to come down pit lane during those races. Here, however, you can see what goes on and what sort of strategies these drivers try and play at when a race is just kind of gridlock in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is your two full. Oh, as we see, that's Phil Berry deciding he's going to just take it a little bit wide there, as he had a car in front. Couldn't tell if that was maybe Adkins that was in front of him that just started losing it. Was able to catch it, but obviously, when you're the next car coming through the corner, is you want to give that guy plenty of room to recover it. And we got a little fight inside there between Pleva and Ian Joyner coming through turn 10. Joyner hangs on to the spot, but Pleva's looking like he wants to start racing a little bit earlier than everybody else, and he's looking for a way to get a couple positions here before we come in for our pit stops.
Yeah, and Pleva's always a bit aggressive, and as contact made with Mr. Wilkie and Jason Dunnington, that's heading off into turn number 10, and I think that may have been some side-by-side racing gone a bit awry. Wilkie getting the draft, even with the damage on the front end of that race car, worked out well for him as he goes for the dive into the turn. Oh, I'm going to say I think Dunnington kind of turned in a bit there, if I'm honest. I'm not just saying that because that's our boss.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Yeah, no, we'll call it out if Josh screws up. Don't make no mistake. We don't.
Oh, that's funny when we do it. I don't like the message I get afterwards.
Yeah,
but
on that one, I think it was a good move down to the inside before the braking zone. He had the position, and yeah, I think it was just a little bit of side by side contact, probably initiated by Dunnington, but racing incident more than anything else.
Yeah, so he gets the move done there. Everything that he needed to do was done on Wilkie's end. I'll worry about the incident points, though, even if that wasn't an incident that he is responsible for. The kind of like AI sort of race control system that iRacing has can sometimes assign blame where the blame isn't essentially there. And in a race that's always been quite hectic with the chaos that we saw at the start, may have to worry about those racers potentially picking up some incident points. We have seen a kind of increase in drivers having drive-through penalties for those incident point limit violations. Very easy to pick up 13x in a 40-minute long race in a tight-knit field of Spec Racer Fords where you're pretty much just right there compared to your competition.
Yeah, and just as soon as you mentioned the incident count, I started looking at our timing and scoring, and there's already a few drivers that are flirting with it a little bit. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we go forward a little more here into this race. Just a little past the halfway point on board here with Kane Halliburton running at 8th, which is lost the draft. So the gap between Halliburton and Green now a second and a half. So Kane's obviously quick enough that he can probably make that up. I think hasn't gotten too far out yet, but it's kind of interesting that he's down there in 8th. He's normally up near the front of the grid, or at least has been for the last couple of seasons. So it's a bit of a shocker to see him down in P8 and off the lead pack.
It's starting to get a bit more froggy up at the front of the field as we take a look at some more drama here. This is Kurt Nunez. Sideways snap into the turn, sideways snap through the turn, and around he is going to go. Thankfully, on this version of the track, you do have a bit more runoff area, but gotta decide to call it quits right away. So that's going to be the first retirement that we have had thus far here, which is quite the shock. I mean, well, actually, I meant that statement. Barrett Brummett has been down in pit lane for the past 18 minutes, so
yeah,
I think he may be the first. So either way, 2 retirements, considering the pileup that we had at the start and a little bit of craziness sprinkled throughout as well. This has been quite clean. I hope I didn't just jinx the field.
I hope you didn't either. Yeah, we just had a couple incidents early, but yeah, it settled down nicely, and we've got some pretty nice racing going on. Obviously, I think the racing picks up again in 10 minutes time or so as we get to the short end here. But you can already see drivers that are maybe exploring potential moves for later on, doing a little research, in preparation for it. and just waiting to see the next shoe to drop. And there's Pleva coming in, so he's going to come in and take his pit stop. He's got to be very careful. Obviously, we didn't talk about this, but there is the potential for a penalty on pit entry there, and not from speeding, but from just the line, as you can cross over the lines there and get a unsafe pit entry. So you have to be very careful there. As we had another car fall to the bottom, that's Jorg Monty, who is towed back to the pits. So I'm going to say that Jorg has crashed and has decided today is over for him. So he'll go and enjoy the rest of his evening. We're going to replay here as we're coming around. No, this is the leader. And here we go. Here's Jorg. And he's coming around. Is this the final corner? It is not. So now we're coming in the penultimate corner there. And this is the final corner here. And comes into the pits.
Oh, no,
and
no,
runs into the wall.
Oh, no.
So too much speed coming in. And we're going to get a nice view here as Jorg comes around the penultimate corner, heads down to pit lane, and you can just see what's going to happen here. And just too much speed, and then that's race over. So car destroyed there. That would have been a quick tow, but obviously you're still going to lose at least 30 seconds there just trying to get the car recovered.
I feel bad saying it. I do, but that was a funny-looking collision. I say that right as Jorg comes into YouTube chat. Sorry, Jorg. Wish you were out there on the racetrack contending for a win, but of all the ways to wreck a race, that was by far the most entertaining. Antonio Reis is now up at the front of the Masters field and holds on to a considerable margin between himself and Chris Murakami, slotted in P2. Nathaniel Schramm and Marco Pinero swapping because Pinero is coming down pit lane. Be careful in the pit entry there. Pinero going to do it just fine. Richard Harwood, Jason Green, and Antonio Reis are going to follow in suit as well. Usually see these racers hold out on the stops until the very last moment. But as we talked about a bit earlier on, Charles, this feels like the sort of race with the vibe where nobody knows exactly what is the best way to execute those pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get a good idea of whether or not Naselli's gamble paid off here, as these cars were basically running in tandem with him. And so now with his clean air for the last 2-3 laps, we're going to see if this is going to be a benefit or not. So those cars are coming out. Naselli is there. He is just passing Jason Green for P14. So it doesn't like it was a huge benefit, so he didn't gain a lot of time. However, he didn't lose enough. It didn't lose any either, so he is still going to be in that main group at the end of the race.
Yeah, so once all the pit stops are taken care of, I wonder whether this field up at the front is going to be stronger or weaker than it once was, and we do have to consider any sort of Thompson trophies that we may have in store. Actually, I was going to save this for XSLR later on, but XSLR is not running tonight. Change of plans here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, the big game here this evening. Everybody knows about the big game. That is the final round robin curling match between Team USA and Team Estonia in the Winter Olympics down there in Milan. However, I do want to give some love to Mr. Adam Thompson, who got a promotion. I believe he's now a technical sergeant in the United States Air Force. I want to congratulate him. That was pretty awesome news. I sent my congratulations in yesterday. That was pretty awesome to see, and we still love him over here at SMB, even if he comes in here and terrorizes me with his meows. Two drivers coming down pit lanes, your top two in this race, Nathaniel Schramm and Dirk Braun. That's going to leave Ian Joyner and Kane Halliburton out all by their lonesome. I wonder if they're going to try and do a little bit of pseudo teamwork here. I mean, they are technically Almeida Racing Academy teammates, but they're also contending for a championship too. So I wonder if they're going to maybe try and work together, make this strategy call play out, or if they're just going to say, nope, we've made a mistake and come down pit lane at the end of this lap.
Well, the problem is Kane going to be able to catch Joyner and get in his draft? Otherwise, it's not really going to help either one of them, I don't think, because essentially the distance between them, they're running by themselves. Essentially, there's no aerodynamic benefit to being that far apart. It looks like Kane is starting to close the gap a little bit. So if they can get in that magical 1 second, we see Jeffrey Atkins with our first black flag of the race. That's going to be for incident limits, I'm pretty sure. as we've got Murakami, Russell Wilkie, Paul Jackson coming out of the pits. I think we've got the final 2 cars, Joyner and Halliburton, now within 1 second apart. So we'll see if Kane can continue to close that gap down. But you see the gap looks like Pinheiro has got the advantage over the rest of the group. He's got about 1.7 over Schramm in 4th. So we'll see if Pinheiro is going to be out by himself. I think that once the group gets back together, I don't think that lead is going to last with Pinheiro. As good as he is in these cars, I don't think he's going to be able to stay out there by himself in front of the rest of the field.
And yesterday here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, we saw a driver with a massive gap, and he was able to hold on to it. It's Tortello, a past multi-time champion in the Formula Vs, very quick racer, both in the sim and in real life. He was able to do that at VIR on the North configuration yesterday in the Formula Vs, but can you do that here in the SRFs at Barcelona? I feel like that is a much tougher challenge, as Kane Halliburton nearly turning the 2 Spec Racer Fords that just came down pit lane, merging them into one. They have now come into the pits. What a way to announce their arrival down in pit lane. Now we see how they merge out. With them coming into the pit lane just a little shy of the final 10 minutes, they may be able to have the shortest stops out of everybody. Well, they probably should. Will they be able to do is the real question. Halliburton off the gun, Joyner off the gun. That's going to be close between those 2 cars as they head their way out of pit lane. Off the line right now, they're going to try and merge onto the racetrack as quickly as they can. I think Pinheiro may be a lost cause. He may get the move done on the both of them, although actually it is a little bit closer than I was expecting it to. Pinheiro gonna be slotted right behind them in P3, but he does have the benefit of some hotter tires. And you said not too long ago, breaking off of the discussion that I did not too long ago, Charles, we were thinking that maybe Kane Halliburton was going, not Kane Halliburton, Marco Pinheiro was maybe going to run into some trouble with the drivers behind. If these drivers up at the front start to battle, that's going to be how that pack behind gets involved in this once more.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as these either two out of any of the 3 of these at the front, as soon as they go side by side through a corner, you've got your back to that 7-car pack with Dirk Braun trying to close the gap down in P8 as well with Pleva behind. So you've got some very hungry drivers up there that are going to be looking to make up some time, and it's just going to be whatever happens up front. It's probably going to dictate the win tonight as we get side by side there. I think that's Josh Wilkie and Brad Cathcart side by side coming down. I think this is into turn 5, and we see Wilkie to the inside there, Cathcart on the outside. Yeah, working our way down into turn 6, and Wilkie's going to get the position and get back in front of Cathcart, and they've got Dan Whitsack closing the gap behind. He's going to get involved, and that's what we were just talking about up front. You just saw it right there as now Whitsack and Mac Thompson are joining this group as well. Now that they've kind of done a corner, 2 wide, it's going to make that a little more tricky as we see the 3-car group up front, the 4-car chase group with Dirk Braun just kind of hanging off the back there a little bit.
Yeah, so as much as we said that these racers may be able to close up that gap, they would be able to if they decide to work together a bit. They're not really doing that, though, at the moment. Azalea and Schramm swapping spots. It is a playful swap, though. They're not fighting off into the turns. If they start to fight into the turns, you can forget about it. Your top 3 are going to be the ones contending for the race win. But if they start doing a little bit like that, you can kind of work your way up, just swapping the spots, keeping the momentum rolling. These Spec Racer Fords, I always say, are a nice merger between the Formula Fords and the Formula Vs here in the Weekend Warriors community. The Formula Vs always momentum based, but the Formula Fords have the same kind of slidey handling characteristics where you can dart them a little bit more than you can a V. Here, however, this is a merger that can work out well for these racers if they can run this race smart. Not too aggressive. You can bring up the thunder every now and then, but if they can race this race smartly, they could very well find themselves battling for a win.
Yeah, just watching as we were talking there, and Antonio Reese with 2 back-to-back slowdowns, so he's cost himself several seconds there trying to work that time off. As we're watching here, and Naselli had closed that gap a little bit, but it's starting to balloon back up So we'll see if he can manage to close it. Look, he's doing a really good job through the corners and is able to just get a tenth here and a tenth there. And he's closed that gap back down under 1.5. So the gap is slowly closing down, but they're going to have to get done a little bit quicker. That's not going to be nearly enough with less than 7 minutes to go in the race. You see two over the curb, one not taking the curb, and that's just kind of how it goes with that next group. Now 1.4 still as they're coming down the front straight. I think the front group gets a little bit. Look at this bump draft, and now here we go. We've got Pinero moving to the inside. He's going to look to the inside here. Is he going to try and get both positions here going down into turn one? Is he going to be able to get that done? And he did indeed. So great move by Pinero there, jumping, getting the 2 for 1 down into turn one and taking over the lead. But now we've got Halliburton with a slowdown. Oh, that might be, here we go. So is this going to be an assistance for this second group to help them get to the front group, with Halliburton now kind of splitting the draft between them. So this may have been a great benefit to Naselli, Schramm, Harwood, Green coming up to try and get up to the front.
I know this is usually said about a dead racehorse, but that's the glue right there. Halliburton is slow down through turn number 1 and 2. That's going to bring these racers into it, but they're not giving themselves too many opportunities to close up. Naselli, Schramm, and Halliburton all battling. Halliburton has now finally gotten that slowdown taken care of. Harwood and Green running right in tow. If they can play together, play peacefully, they may be able to do it, but this is still an uphill climb. I was expecting that to just snap these drivers together, but we haven't really been able to get it. I think what's going to push these racers over the edge will be when Pinero and Joyner start to battle. They are still close. Here we go. Harwood and Halliburton now side by side. This is heading off through 10 into 11 right now through the final sector. Very easy to pull along side by side, but difficult to get the move done. Richard Harwood now knows that as he slips back in tow once more, has broken this field up ever so slightly. So all of this, even with the occasional bit of drama in that moment from Halliburton 1 lap ago, this is still coming up very good for Pinero and Joyner.
Yeah, the only downside of this is it was a 3-4 battle. Now it's a 2-5 battle. So now you've got 5 cars in that second group that can draft off of each other versus the 2 up front. So there's still potential there for that second group because it's just bigger to be able to close the gap down. But they've, as you said, they've got to stop fighting amongst themselves, at least for the next couple of laps, or at least the next lap or so, because I think we're coming up to the it's maybe 2 to go when we come down the next time. So they need to keep themselves just in straight line and do their best to try and get up there before they start trying to battle for P3.
Yeah, these are critical moments in this race. If they can close up the gap with the little time we have left to go and have a fighting chance on the last lap, they're going to be golden. If not, however, they're going to start to battle more and more, and the opportunity to win this race is just going to slip away from them. Looking at the side-by-side fighting now, this is the 3-car pack of Brad Cathcart, Dan Witzak, and Tom Gradwell. They still have the likes of Steve Saunders and Jason Dunnington right in tow, but side-by-side with Witzak and Gradwell all through 3 into turn number 4 right now. A little bit of damage on those race cars, so we'll have to see who gets the edge out there. Here's Murakami and Scott Russell battling as we jump back to the fight with Gradwell and Witzak. Look at the damage on that race car of Witzak. Front end damage. That's not going to help out his cause through the straightaways, but through the turns, he's not feeling the burn nearly as badly. There's the move into turn number 5, or is it Gradwell keeping that momentum rolling on the high side? The 909 car not able to draw back along side by side into turn number 7 and 8. But that fight will still be intense as we get into the end of this race. I believe it is 2 to go for Pinero and Joyner, still covered by a little over a quarter of a second. They have a 1 1/4 second gap between themselves and Maurizio Naselli. Now this is going to be the deciding lap. As I just said, these racers have a shot. They're going to battle. If not, you can forget about it.
Yeah, as you can see, Jason Green in P7, the last car in that group, fastest lap of the race, 156.2. So you can see how the draft works for these cars. He's just back there hanging on to the tail end, but he's just going faster than he's been the entire race. As we've got Schramm now moving up to that lead car in the second pack, and they're desperately trying to find any time they can They've swapped the lead over between three very, very fast drivers in the Spec Racer, and just not fast enough to gain any purchase there on that front group.
Yeah, so now that we are into the final
down.
few moments, yeah, Kevin Adrian, slow down for him. They're in the draft. If they can maintain it now through turns number 7, 8, and 9 onto that back straightaway, this could be the moment. This could be the point where these drivers can finally right the wrongs and close up the gap. Schramm, though, a little bit of a sour approach out of 7 and 8. That's going to cause that gap to dip above a second. But if he can get a good run here, he could get a whiff of a draft. And as soon as you get a small little faint scent of it, you're going to close up. But no, the gap not closing down. In fact, it is building. Christoph van Langendonk with a black flag and a slowdown in one fell swoop. I don't think that's a black and yellow that Wiz Khalifa sang about. Pinero and Joyner, they may be in the clear because I don't think Stram, Halliburton, Nazelli, Harwood, Green, and Braun can work together well enough to give themselves a shot at getting the W.
It doesn't appear so, but this last run down the front straight here as we start our final lap is kind of going to be the deciding factor here. If they get any kind of draft off the front, Joyner is
I forget the pit stops at this point. They're going side by side.
Yep.
Pinero and Joyner on the outside, Pinero on the inside. Who's going to win out in this battle of the last late breakers into turn number 1? Pinero. I thought it was going to be Joyner, but Pinero's super late, a little bit slidey. They're so close to contact on the exit, though. Nose to tail, and in all that battling, that has quickly gone the way of Schramm. That gap is closed up by 4/10. They're still chasing each other's tails through turn number 3 into 4 right now. I thought they were going to come to blows. They're oh so close to contact through the turn. Pinero sliding around. Here's Schramm. Here is everybody. This two-car battle has turned into an absolute party at the front of the field. Who's going to be the first to bounce, though? Will it be Pinero holding on to that top spot? Will he get shuffled back? Is it Kane Halliburton? He looks like he's here to party. Joyner, it was being raised by Guido right at the start of this final lap in the production truck that he may have to worry about fuel. At this point, I think he's going to go for all-out glory. If he's going to worry about fuel, he's going to let his teammate by to try and get the result for the Almeida Racing Academy. But right now, I think he's not worrying about that too much. Maybe that's a reason why he wasn't attacking. But either way, we've got one final run down the back straightaway here. Pinero in front of Joyner, in front of Halliburton. Will Joyner go for the move? He pulls out into the inside line, sneaks a wheel down there, but he's not going to be able to get the turn on entry. Maybe on exit, though, closes up the gap to about a quarter of a second. Here comes Halliburton, though. They're side by side. This is tense stuff as they head their way into the final sector here at Barcelona. Oh, black flag for Halliburton.
Oh, no.
That's going to bounce him out of the fight. He goes through the gravel trap. He is done for. Now, Joyner, he's going to be the one to try and go for it. It's going to be a two-horse race as they head their way out of the final turn for the final time. Pinero dips a wheel off into the dirt, but he's going to have enough speed and momentum to grab the win here.
Wow, what a great final lap of this race, and a great race overall. Really intense racing from the top of the field all the way down to the bottom. And you just see what this is what drafting will do for these cars. It took a 2-car battle at the beginning of the final lap to a 7-car battle at the end of it. And Marco Pinero comes back from a pretty long vacation from running these cars, and of course comes back and wins the race by a half second over Ian Joyner. Nate Schramm finishing in 3rd. Naselli with his return finishing in 4th. Harwood, Green, Braun, Reese, Simpkins, and Dorelli your top 10. And unfortunate with the black flag there for Kane Halliburton there. 2 corners to go, contact, and that was enough to send him over the incident limit. And he's going to end up finishing, I believe, around P27 or something like that. So still a few more cars finishing off here, but fantastic racing today. And that is one of the good things about running Barcelona is you get good races like this because it's just such a wide open track with lots of ability to get yourself out of trouble. As you see there, Halliburton just pulling over. Once the black flag got issued, he says, all right, I'm out of the fight. I'm not going to interfere with the rest of it. And just pulls over and resets back to the pit. So great sportsmanship from Halliburton.
Yeah, the power of the Alt F4 as he headed his way off through the
Yep.
gravel trap right towards the end of the lap. That was a nutty finish. You know, we were expecting some chaos, and chaos that we got, but what a fight. What a battle. Oh,
Ooh.
as we got to the end, that's Josh Wilkie going in for the kill on Jason Green. Oh, somebody just ramped over Josh. Oh, no, Mr. Wilkie has passed away. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him. And Jason Green just got sent out of the ballpark. This is... We had a nutty race, and now we're seeing some bizarre. Oh my God, that's Schramm parked on top of Matt Thompson, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, cars being destroyed. Oh, hey, there's Sergio Dorelli popping in to pay respects. So just once again, this is part and parcel of the Weekend Warriors. We'll break them all. We'll reset them for next week, and we'll come back out and do it all over again. But really good racing today. It was a fun race to watch. Some good strategy calls being played out. Some worked pretty well, some not so well. But, for the most part, really exciting racing and a great finish.
That was a wild race. That was a wild finish, and we got trade off with some wild crashing right at the very end of it. So we're gonna take a look at the results before I see a Spec Racer Ford strike the moon. I've said this before here on the channel. I'll say it once again. Only here on Slow Motion Broadcasting do we have protection from race car impacts with drones, helicopters, and blimps. That is only here on SMB. Only here on SMB.
Yeah.
But do want to give some love to Antonio Reese. We didn't talk about him too much. He ended up winning in the Masters category with all the craziness going on in front. We just didn't even touch on him at all here. But props were props, and most certainly due to him. Let's take a look at our race results here. Marco Panero grabs the victory over Ian Joyner in P2. Nathaniel Schramm, nice fight back at the very end, will round out your podium in third. Britson Nazelli will come across the line in fourth with Richard Harwood. A pretty comfortable win for him in the Spec 2 category. Jason Green, the last of the cars in that train towards the end with Dirk Braun, the sponsor of today's broadcast, behind in seventh, pretty much in a pack of his own. Antonio Reese wins it in the Masters category, just touched on that. He finishes this race in eighth overall. Hugh Simpkins will finish this race in ninth, with Sergio Dorelli from Argentina completing your top 10.
Yeah, Kevin Adrian rounds out your Spec 2 podium in 11th. Scott Russell just missing in P12. Chris Burkhammy with a P2 in the Masters class in 13th. Josh Wilkie 14th. Matt Thompson 15th. Jason Dunnington finishing in 16th. 17th is Steve Saunders. 18th in the final car on the Masters podium. Finishing at 18th is Tom Gradwell. Brad Cathcart just missing out in 19th. Paul Jackson 20th. Dan Witzak in 21st. Andrew Love finishes in 22nd. 23rd is Phil Berry. Jim Brewster 24th. Marcus Burkett 25th. Chris Thorpe 26th. Kane Halliburton does end up finishing in 27th. Christoph von Langendock finishes in 28th. Alex Pleva finishes in 29th. Jeffrey Atkins finishing in 30th. Jorg Monty 31st. Kurt Nunez in 32nd. And Barrett Brummett is the final car listed after an early incident and will be classified in 33rd.
Yeah, and so those are your results at the end of a wild day of racing action here on SMB. Hope you all enjoyed it just as much as we enjoyed covering that race, because what a wild one from start to finish. But we will move off into the interviews now, have a chat with some drivers who I think are very interested to give their thoughts on it all. And I think we're going to start off by having a chat with Nathaniel Schramm, who had a pretty good fight back at the end of this race, walks away with a podium. Nathaniel, welcome into the broadcast booth. P3 for you at the end of this race. How was it out there? Because it looked absolutely wild from our perspective here in the booth.
It was absolutely chaotic at the end there. That last lap had so many things going on, but it was a lot of fun. It was really good from my perspective.
It looked like a wild one, and towards the end, it started to get hectic. I want to ask you about the last few laps, because we were thinking that it was just going to be those top two contending for the spot, well, the top three contending for it, I should say. And then all pandemonium kind of broke loose and brought everybody else into it. That last lap, I think the word to describe it would probably be frantic. Do you think that's fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. I saw Marco and Ian kind of starting to, get a little argy-bargy on each other, and I was hoping that slow them down to bring them back to us. And yeah, I was trying to cover from Kane doing a dive just in case, but he just ended up pushing me. He came on the voice and said, "I'm just pushing." Yeah, then when we get to the hairpin before the S's, Ian was very, very slow, and I chose the wrong line there, so Kane got around the outside, and then it was just kind of try to stick and see what we could do.
Definitely a wild race all the way through to the end. Lots of close quarters moments, close calls, and some thrilling racing action on track where don't usually see too much good racing in real life, but here in the sim, it was absolutely fantastic today. Next time out, in 1 week's time, we're going to be heading off to the Chicago Street Course. That was a part of last season's schedule, so what are your thoughts returning there?
Yeah, looking forward to going back to the wall of meats and the meat chute. Hopefully, don't have any end of the race incidents like I did last time. Hopefully, learned a little bit, check my mirrors a bit more. Yeah, looking forward to it. It was a fun track. That was my first time last time around, so got a little bit of knowledge now. So we'll see if I can improve on last time's result.
Well, there you go, man. Well, hey, thank you for joining us here in the booth. Love to hear your insight about the race and next week's action. And we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank you guys, as always, for doing the broadcast. I know my friends really enjoy it. They're always in the chat supporting me, so that's great. Like to thank the league for putting it on, and like to thank my team, Three Oceans Racing, and our sponsors, Turner Machine Development and Gager & Sons Power Systems.
There you go, man. Well, hey, thank you for joining us on the booth, Nathaniel. Well done on the win, and we'll see you next time out at Chicago.
Thank you.
Thinking the correct grammar for me probably would have been in Chicago, but that's neither here nor there. Charles, I will pass the mic off to you. We have a wide variety of options.
We do. We haven't had Antonio in here in a while, so I want to interview him. But I think we've got a new interview. I don't think I've ever heard an interview from Marco Pinero in my time with this. Ooh. So I'm going to leave that one to you, and I think that might be amazing. But I want to bring Antonio Reese in, our Masters class winner, and have a chat real quick. Antonio, congratulations on the top 10, the Masters class victory, and a pretty good race overall, up 5 positions from your qualifying time. So well done to you, sir.
Hey Charles, hello. How are you? And
good.
Guido and Ron. Nice to see you. Yeah, was a long time, right?
It has been a long time. I mean, it's been so long. Guido's not even booing you at this point. So, so good race today. Talk about the race from your perspective. I think I saw you a few times struggling a little bit, maybe with track limits. Is there anything just in particular about Barcelona that was giving you problems?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems on this track. I don't like this track, but there is a lot of draft and a lot of off tracks. But just keep the car on the place where it should be, not killing anyone. It's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this is once again, we talked about it. We haven't been here in the Spec Racers for a long time, because I can't remember the last time we've had a race here. So it felt pretty good to get a track, but it was a good track. Obviously, you talked about the draft, but it's also a good track for being able to take some different lines and get yourself out of trouble if you need to.
Yeah. On that regard, yeah, absolutely, I agree. Yeah, on that regard, I completely agree with you.
So next week, Ron just said it, and I can't remember what he said, 30 seconds ago. So Chicago Street Circuit, which I did not get to participate in the last time, is for the broadcast. So is this a track that you own, or is this one that we're gonna miss you for next week?
I don't like fake tracks. I like the scan tracks. So I didn't buy it.
I can completely understand. I mean,
Existed.
kind
Yeah,
of,
but
it kind of exists, you know.
it doesn't have the 3D scanning.
Yeah,
It
there you go.
wasn't 3D scan.
Well, so we
I
will
like
see you
3D
next
scan
week,
structure.
but we'll
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see
In
you
15
again
days,
down
yeah.
the road. Yeah. So no
Mhm.
problem. So Antonio, congratulations once again.
Thank you, guys.
And obviously, we'll let you give any thanks that you want to give out before we let you go.
Yeah, Steve Ray, our buddy, our big buddy, big guy. And for you guys on the broadcast, of course. And Nickel Pickle, sorry, the sponsor.
Yep.
And for all the Weekend Warriors community. And yeah, I think I don't forget anyone. Yeah.
I think you didn't. So Antonio, thanks again, and we'll see you the next
Thanks,
time.
guys, for having me.
All right.
I'm very
Yes,
happy
sir.
to see you again. Okay, bye.
All right. Bye.
And that right there was Antonio Reese, a very happy man to be back here in the booth in quite some time. And we're going to have a chat with Marco Pinero here. And I will potentially ask here, because Marco, obviously has been around the Weekend Warriors world many, many times. I believe, primarily speaks Italian. So I will do this interview under the proviso that Guido may be able to provide assistance to Marco in case he cannot find the right words to sum this all up. But we will have a chat for the very first time, I believe, with Marco Pinero now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Marco, welcome in for the very first time, my friend. Congratulations on the win. That was a pretty wild race out there here at Barcelona. How was it for you?
Thanks. Yeah, for me it's the first time here in the interview. I hope to be good. I'm not very good with English. It was a fun race, and I come back after a long stop. The last month I was a little bit busy with work. But this week I saw Barcelona, and this is one of my favorite track, and I come back. The quali was difficult because I was 10, I think, until 1 minute to the finish, and fortunately Jörg Mani gave me a good draft, and fortunately I started P2. The first part of the race was not very fun because we don't fight too much because we save some fuel, and my pit was good. Maybe I can improve a little bit more, but yeah, it's a good comeback.
Yeah, on your first.
Ok. Sì, la gara è stata molto divertente, grazie Guido. Grazie per la diretta, grazie per tutto il lavoro che fate e ci vedremo nelle prossime settimane.
So he said the race was really, really fun. Thanks to everybody, and we'll see you in the next week.
There we go. That's thank you for the assistance there, Guido, and thank you as well, Marco, for joining us here in the booth. It's a treat to finally get a chat with you after many, many moons of seeing you absolutely rip it here in these SRFs, and we'll see you hopefully some point rather soon.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Marco, for joining us.
Thank you.
And that right there was Marco Pinero joining us here in the broadcast booth. That's one of the great things about the Weekend Warriors community. It is incredibly international. I mean, just here on the broadcast side of things, Guido's in Italy. Charles, you're down there in Alabama. I'm in Philadelphia. Mr. Wilkie, who runs the show here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. He's out there in British Columbia and Canada, and of course in the Weekend Warriors, we've got a lot of different nationalities represented. I want to give some love to Marco for building the courage to come up here in the broadcast booth. We do not bite. Just to be super clear, it just takes a lot of courage to be in front of an audience, but I appreciate Marco for joining us here. I was going to bring in Richard Harwood to have a chat, our Spec 2 winner, but I think he may have left on us. So, Charles, I think we'll end off the show there. Pretty darn good race here for round 8 of the Spec Racer Ford season. Barcelona, even though it's a track that I still have some personal qualms about, it really didn't disappoint. This was awesome.
It was a great race. It's say what you will about the track itself, but put on a good show today, as well as our drivers just put on a master class in these cars on how to draft them properly and battle through corners and keep everything. And I did not have a interview with Marco Panera on my bingo card for today, so but that was an absolute treat watching this guy. And just sometimes how dominant he can be in these cars. It was great to finally hear and put a voice to the name and hear from him. And so thanks, obviously, to Guido for a little bit of translation there, because I do not speak Italian. I barely speak English. So anyway, but great race, and looking forward to the Chicago Street Course next week. Obviously, a little bit of a different animal, but all 7 of those corners are going to be fantastic, I'm sure.
See, being from Philadelphia, English isn't even my first or second, which is my third. Before then, we've got sarcasm and swearing. So thank you, Guido, for helping out during that interview. And thank you to all of you tuning into this broadcast. We always love presenting the action. Of course, next time out on the Chicago Street Course, we are going to have a lot of fun, but a lot of stuff to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting week in and week out. This upcoming week is pretty packed. Of course, do not have XSLR tonight. Have the Super Bowl instead. I'm probably not going to watch that just for the simple sake that I know next to nothing about football. I know next to nothing about any sport outside of a race car. I will tell you that.
Watch it for the commercials. So
I'll alternate, but it would be good if they had the Puppy Bowl and the Super Bowl timed on, so I could watch the Puppy Bowl for what's going on there and the Super Bowl for the commercials over there. So I don't know, I'll have to experiment with that a little bit later on. But this upcoming Tuesday, we've got you booked with the American Muscle Series, and along with that, the SRG F4 Series going to be running at the exact same time. SRG F3 will be this upcoming Wednesday, and we also have, of course, next weekend, the Weekend Warriors action with the Formula V's and the Spec Racer Ford's Liberty Bell is going to be returning for a special edition race there, I believe, very, very soon. And just a lot of stuff here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a fantastic reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of it. Our thanks, as always, to Dirk Braun and Dirky Stickles for making these broadcasts possible. That will never grow old. But for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the broadcast booth, and Guido Marzucchi working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.